This Denver Broncos legend believes that Sean Payton will be able to resurrect Russell Wilson's career. Russell Wilson's first season in Denver could not have gone any worse had you scripted it. In his first season in the Mile High City, the former 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback completed just 60% of his passes, a career low, for just 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and he was sacked a career high 55 times. He was also the most sacked quarterback in the entire NFL this past season. When you look at the number of 55 sacks, although a good chunk of them were attributed to the Broncos' makeshift offensive line that they were trotting out there every single week, but also a good chunk of those sacks were on Russell Wilson holding on to the ball longer than he should. It was pretty clear that Russell Wilson was playing through some injuries last season, including a torn hamstring and a separated shoulder. The hamstring in particular really affected him, as his mobility definitely took a step backwards from the year before, as well as the rest of his career. Downfield accuracy was also a concern, especially on outbreaking routes. Some of that could have been attributed to the finger injury that he suffered in the 2021 season with the Seattle Seahawks, because when you look at his downfield accuracy before the injury and after the injury, you can definitely see a bit of a drop-off. I don't know if that's something that's just going to go away, so that may be something that we're going to have to deal with for the rest of Russell Wilson's career. Now, not all of Russell Wilson's shortcomings last season were his fault, as we well know. The Broncos had an albatross of a head coach in Nathaniel Hackett, who was in way over his head. Those problems with Hackett were apparent from week 1 up in Seattle, and they just got worse and worse as the season went on, which all culminated in him getting fired following our Christmas Day loss to the Los Angeles Rams. The Broncos brought in his replacement in former New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton in the hopes that not only can Payton eliminate the losing culture that this team has accumulated over these last few years, but also in hopes that Payton can turn Russell Wilson's career around. Now, one guy who is a firm believer that Payton will be able to do that is Denver Broncos legendary running back Terrell Davis. This information is coming from an article from Adam Gretz from yardbarker.com. Davis told TMZ Sports that he is all in on Payton and believes that he has the ability to get Russell Wilson back on track. I've already seen what he can do with quarterbacks, referring to what Sean Payton did with Drew Brees, which leads me to be very positive in what he can do with Russell Wilson. Davis then went on to take a little bit of a stab at the situation surrounding Russell Wilson last season, from an incompetent head coach in Nathaniel Hackett to an injury-riddled roster all around to all other issues from the front office down to the rest of the team. Now again, some of those issues were on Russell Wilson himself, but when you culminate all of those issues together, that leads to the problems that we saw in Denver last season. Let's hear what Terrell Davis had to say about that. He's not washed, he's not broken. But obviously, when you have a surrounding support system that doesn't support what you do well, it will expose your flaws. I could not agree more with what TD says here. Don't get me wrong, Russell Wilson has flaws, but when you surround him with a good surrounding cast like the Seattle Seahawks did for 10 seasons, it does a really good job of covering up those flaws. And what the Seahawks were able to do for 10 seasons with Russell Wilson is take what he does do well, which is throw the deep ball off of play action, among many other things, and they took that and they harnessed it into a full-fledged scheme that was built around Russell Wilson's strengths. No matter what offensive coordinator they tried to bring in to appease Russ, at the end of the day, they almost always deviated to the standard Russell Wilson offense that was effective for them all of those years. And that starts with running the football and taking shots downfield off of play action. And the Broncos just did not do that enough last season. Between Russell Wilson himself as well as the incompetence of Nathaniel Hackett, they tried to turn Russell Wilson into a drop-back quarterback last season. That's just not who he is. We all know that. We need to deviate back to the Russell Wilson offense. There is only one Russell Wilson offense. That is the same stuff that the Seattle Seahawks were doing for the past 10 years. And I'm very confident that a coach like Sean Payton will go back and look at all of Russell Wilson's tape from all those years in Seattle and harness what Russell Wilson does well and eliminate from the offense what Russell Wilson does not do well. I'm curious, guys, do you guys agree with Terrell Davis here? Do you guys believe that Sean Payton will be able to resurrect Russell Wilson's career? Drop those comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. And while you're at it, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Gage Madrid NFL for continuing Broncos coverage. And for now, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.